Hello and welcome to the latest in the Full FX's Inheritors series, where we talk to the next generation of managers in our industry and in our business. And I'm delighted to be joined by Bran, who is Head of Business Development for APAC at SmartTrade. Catherine, lovely to see you again. I guess I'd like to start with your journey into FX. You know, what got you into FX?
Very funny story, actually. So prior
Coming
to
from you, that doesn't surprise me.
so prior to being in the capital markets industry as a whole, I was actually in pharmaceutical sales. So
okay.
I worked in the pharma industry for about, I want to say, 6 years.
Okay.
And I was helping a lot of companies like, Teva, Allergan, get their product into market. So getting FDA approval, EMEA approval, and approval into global markets. So that was traditionally what I was doing. I wanted to move abroad and work abroad. So I actually got into capital markets, the equity space first, with a company named...
We barely acknowledge equity, as you know, but yes, that's okay.
With a company called Quad, and this was via an agency. So I was looking for, work abroad. My boss at the time was looking to hire a specific person to come and run sales with him. So he had a lot of different ideas about the salesperson. So specifically, he wanted a woman, somebody who didn't work in the industry, someone that he can mold and shape into, learning about the capital market space and being a salesperson in that industry. So this is when I started working for a startup called Quad. And so I was selling their EOMS platform. And then I want to say I started to get into FX in the sense I had exposure because we were looking to build a pricing engine in the market.
So therefore it sounds to me like mentoring, training played quite a big role in your evolution there.
It did. So obviously he trained me from the very beginning. I took the job. I didn't really need much training in terms of sales process. It was just more about learning about the industry. And throughout that journey, I did meet other mentors as well that were very pivotal in my role, and also continue to be pivotal in my career now. So
because it is an ongoing thing still, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. So obviously, like having a mentor for me was very critical, especially when I entered FX. So I fully entered FX when I joined SmartTrade, which was about a year later. So I decided to move fully into FX. I learned very quickly that it was a very incestuous community. Obviously, my mentor helped me understand like the market, the players, helped me understand, the networking part of it. So I think coming from the US and then working in EMEA and in London, it's a very different perspective. So it very much helped me open the door.
So where do we sit now? What is your current role and responsibilities now?
So now today, 5 years later, I had a business development for APAC. So at SmartTrade, I have done pretty much every other region. So I've done work in the Middle East, I've done work in the US, but now specifically my focus is APAC and more emerging markets.
Which I guess really gets you into that sort of understanding the different global and regional nuances.
Yes, so there is a lot of regional nuances. I think EMEA is a very sophisticated space in terms of technology. I think you have a lot of big players. Now, when you're talking about the Middle East and you're talking about APAC, this is when you start going into regions like Malaysia, Thailand, Israel. So I think in those regions, there is much more of a drive for digitalization. I think a lot of the super regional banks are looking to grow. I think they're looking to, get more offshore business. They're looking to really become the top players in their space. And usually in those regions, you see about maybe 3 to 4 big regional banks, and all of those guys are fighting for the same business, right? So there is an importance in the terms of the technology that we do provide for them, in the sense that they need to have a full end-to-end solution. Everything from, connectivity aggregation, risk management, distribution, especially now with such a competitive market, there is a big need for being able to supply a lot of tools for your clients, right?
So would you say that's one of the key trends actually we are seeing emerging in this role into the regions?
Yes, so I think now we're seeing a hybrid model in the sense where a lot of the banks are looking for components that are out of the box. For example, an aggregator, that's a pretty basic solution. And I think banks are looking for flexibility in order to keep their own IP, so they're looking to build. So being able to build, for example, a pricing algo is key, and having the right technology solution to be able to do that.
And I guess it has to be scalable both ways in many ways, because if you're dealing with a regional currency pair, the data may be very, very sparse. It might need more human interaction.
Yes, so it needs to be obviously low touch, high touch. So you need to be able to obviously be able to automate the entire process or run an algo, or you need to be able to also have, for example, dealer intervention, where a trader is also able to be more high touch. So, and I think it's very important for a lot of the desks to have flexibility in those solutions.
Yeah. I'm fascinated also by the role that technology is playing in your role in your life, because obviously, yes, you're selling technology and helping banks with their technology stacks, but actually the role technology is playing in your life.
I use it quite a bit. So I use a lot of applications. So everything from Otter. So for Otter, Otter is an application where you can, record a lot of meetings and transcribes everything.
I'm glad you explained that, because I'm going.
Otter, obviously ChatGPT, things like that. It's very important to also be able to learn how to use AI. I don't think AI will replace the salesperson, but I think it will replace salespeople who don't know how to use these type of technologies. For me specifically, I use it a lot for research. So I use ChatGPT for research, for kind of changing an email around, or maybe if I'm looking to create like a sales pitch. Because obviously the more you use AI, it starts to kind of learn about the company. So it'll help you develop more. So I'm automating more of the research part of my job into ChatGPT.
Which I guess is actually it's the ideal use case for AI at the moment, isn't it? So it enhances the human's ability to actually do their job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm focusing more on like strategic things. So where do I need to go? Who am I prospecting? What are the pitches that I'm focusing on? And obviously I'll use ChatGPT or AI just to kind of enhance that.
Yeah, and obviously put your own little spin on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is still important. That human aspect is still important, isn't it, to the business?
Exactly. Which is exactly what we're seeing in the banks, right? We're seeing, like, again, when we talked about the hybrid model, where, yes, you have, the normal components that are being used day to day, but also being able to have a technology provider that is able to give you sophisticated technology to be able to also automate, but also give you a high touch point.
Yeah. And I guess then, have you also noticed, over your 5 years, that the way you can interact with your clients is changing as well? I guess there's still a value on face-to-face, but is it where it was?
No. So I think there is obviously a very big value in face-to-face interactions, because you're better able to read, obviously, the room. You're better able to, build a relationship. I think that is a big part of the sales process. I think we've had a lot of events like COVID and the pandemic that has affected that, in the sense of everybody was forced to, work remotely. So I think nowadays you can run an entire sales process via Zoom call, right? Versus before, there was much more value in being there in person, which I think is still important. But I think because the sales process is now becoming longer, it's now becoming more involved in the sense of there's, the rise of procurements. I think that's something that we've seen, in the last 2-3 years, where procurement has become heavily involved in a lot of the bank's processes. Obviously there's a Zoom, so sometimes you don't even get to meet some of your prospects in person. So that makes it a little bit difficult, obviously, trying to kind of build a relationship and that trust that you need in order to be successful. I think the role has also changed into more of a strategic role, and I would say more consulting versus traditionally it was selling a product. I think now prospects and clients are looking for data-driven insights. I think they're looking for ROI. I think they're looking for a partnership, and thought leadership has a big role to play also, versus before it was just here's the product, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot. And I think you see it also, in a lot of the desks, right? So procurement's being involved. You have, sales traders, you have the traders, you have the IT guys, you have the quants, who are all involved in the decision process. So.
I find it interesting because I listen to that and think, so technology is a huge enabler of what you're doing, but it does raise that challenge of actually really getting to know the clients, not intimately in terms of like in depth. And understand okay, what makes this client tick is become a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, it's harder to read a room, right? It's harder to be able to really figure out the actual pain point without having that human touch interaction, because obviously you kind of have to pull teeth to be able to do that, right? Versus if, I'm at a conference with someone, having a coffee, I think people are more open to discussing and, being able to give you more of their pain points.
I know a good conference. that we can let you know about. So I'd like to close out kind of with getting your thoughts on how you sort of see the industry and yourself moving forward. I mean, how optimistic are you for that sort of technology business in FX?
So I think FX will always be an important key aspect of any financial industry. I think in terms of a technology perspective, there is a very big need for a true multi-asset platform. So obviously you can, FX, I think there's maybe 10 plus vendors out there who have pretty much, either a connectivity solution or aggregator or just a white label solution or there's many that we can discuss about. But I think there is a need for a true multi-asset solution in the sense of having a vendor that can do both FX, fixed income, equities, crypto. There is a very big space and there's a lot of business to be done in that space. So if there's a vendor that can do that, I think that's where the opportunity will be.
I speak with the voice of sometimes bitter experience by saying that's been a holy grail for a few decades now, but yes. And I guess then also it becomes, do you also look at it in terms of where else FX kind of pops into in and out of the business of, for instance, payments?
Yeah, so I think, for example, when you're looking at FX, a lot of the people we're speaking to are also maybe the global head of FIC, right? So you have fixed income, equities, precious metals, all kind of come into the same umbrella. Within that, I think the cross-border payment space, I would say the smaller banks would have cross-border payments in the same umbrella. So the treasury guys would be managing that. I think obviously it depends on the size of the bank, but most of the time there is always interaction between them. So transactional banking, FX trading has a big play for them to work together. Obviously fixed income as well. And I think that's why there is a big need, because there's only about maybe 2 big players in fixed income. So you have obviously Ion, and then you have 2 or 3 other smaller players. But I think there's a big opportunity to grow there.
And so finally, if we're talking about Catherine Bran, where do you see yourself evolving? You just mentioned multi-asset class. Is that a big part of how you see your future? Yeah,
so I think from my perspective, I think there's going to be a big learning curve. I think my next step is to going into other asset classes. Obviously, doing a crossover to fixed income might be something that's coming near in the future, because the way the industry is going now, I think it's very important for you to be able to be multi-layered. So being able to do FX, fixed income, maybe even equities and metals in the same role.
And I guess that brings the transferable skills that you're learning now, you can take to those sort of roles. And one day become a mentor?
Yes, I would love to. I think I already do.
Okay. Which I guess is, that's that great full circle that we all go through, isn't it?
No, and again, I am very appreciative of the mentors that I've been able to work with. I think they were very instrumental in my role and where I am today. So for me, it's, kind of believe in karma, so returning the favor back. Brilliant.
Well, I wish you good luck on your journey. No doubt we'll bump into each other again at some very good conferences. And probably some rubbish ones, but
hopefully in Stockholm next time.
Yes, well, I'll let you know. I'll let you know on that one. Catherine, lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.
Say good luck, and hopefully we'll speak again soon. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back very soon.